What's good, y'all? This is your favorite music journalist, PapiCleve, and let's talk about some of my favorite albums of 2022. Now, before we get into this video, I want to say, man, there's been a lot of music that's dropped this year. Like, this year has been an abundant year of music. Like, there's just so music that's dropped that even I couldn't get to. A lot of music that's dropped that people like that didn't make my list because I just couldn't get to them. And the problem is I keep returning back to the albums that I really liked this year, so it did give me time to jump into the other stuff that I wanted to get into, and a bunch of life stuff that's been happening too, but that's, but hey man, let's get into it. Vince Staples has just been continuously getting better and better. Like, he just keeps elevating himself each and every time. His self-titled LP that he dropped back in 2021 was like the first indication that he was going into a different direction with a different sound that seemed more true to him and his native roots. Ramona Park is a grim, gripping record that serves more so as a requiem of his adolescence. A highlight off the album is going to be When Sparks Fly. Vince gives a chilling, a crazy personification of gun violence, similar to I Give You Power by Nas, but honestly it may be better. But my other favorite tracks off this album is Free the Homies and Player Ways, and Magic is really good. It's just a lot of good records on here, and it's honestly a bop, but it's also really grim. It talks about so much of like gang culture and the horrors of it too as well, but it's so good. It's just really good. Check it out. Now, Jid's Forever Story is the first album / project that I've ever consumed from Jid. I know, that's crazy for me to say. I know. Especially knowing me, you would think that I would listen to all his other stuff, but I haven't. I just haven't. This is actually my first album I ever listened to him, and honestly, it's great. It's a solid piece of work from start to finish, and I'm so glad that I jumped into it this year and checked it out. I love the things that he talks about in this album. It's an album about his upbringing, and where it mostly just revolves around his family, how close he is with them. He tells many stories about his siblings, his brothers and sisters, and it's a very heartwarming album. I just like it, and there's definitely some grim, some sad parts in the album, but it's great from start to finish. Not only is he rapping his butt off, but he's also doing great singing on this album. Like, he can actually sing. He must have grown up in the church, but yeah, this is a great album. So I really love how like there's this group, this new regime of rappers who are coming together and who are just stepping up to the plate, and Smino is amongst that group, and he's doing just that. His album Love for Rent is a fun and introspective album as we engulf into Smino's like messiness and how he deals with relationships, how he invites and also hides from love. My favorite track off this album is No L's, which also has the beat on that track is perfection. And he also has like some of the best features on this album, from Doechii, Uzi, Wayne, Fat Man Scoop. Like, dope project, very dope project. Twigs, my Capricorn sister, drops a project where she shows confidence and growth. Capri Songs is a project where she has a variety of flavors that range from R&B, Afrobeats, trap, and UK garage. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know, but it's a great album from start to finish. She has this avant-garde style of production and composition that always keeps you guessing and takes you on this wild ride. She sings very free, very agile, as she weaves throughout each track so easily, so effortlessly. Like, she sounds amazing, and honestly, this feels like the album where she seems like more in control and also finding pathways back to herself. Such a good album. Next up is the album I felt like no one really talked about enough, which was Ari Lennox, Age, Sex, and Location. That album is a great concept album. It's a great R&B album, a true R&B album that came out this year. Ari Lennox is giving great vocal performances One of my favorite tracks off that album is Her and Lucky Day. I can't remember the name of the song, but that song is so good and it's so sultry. But it's really good. If you haven't listened to it, you should listen to it. One of the best R&B albums of the year. After 3 years, Westside makes his return with More Black Superheroes, an album where he delivers stunning raps, introspective rhymes that are from the heart. Next up, we have Raven Lenae's debut album, Hypnos, a sultry and sweet album where Raven Lenae delivers these angelic, light and feathery vocals where it's almost as if she's in the room with you, floating around you to also hold you gently and caress you. That makes no sense, but it does in my head. But it's such a great album. It's just so beautiful, and she sounds amazing. I can't get over how good she sounds. This is also my first Raven Lenae project as well, but it's such a good R&B project. She sounds magical. My favorite tracks off this album is Inside and Out and also Skin Tight with Steve Lacy. So good, so good. After so many years, SZA makes her way back to us with SOS. And what can I say? She did it again. She did it again. She did it again. And it's a long album, but it's a good long album. And after listening to SOS like the third time, I think this album cements her as a generational artist that's here to stay, if she wants to be. Because we all know how SZA is, but this is a phenomenal album, a remarkable album, and I'm so glad to hear more SZA again. Now, despite all the controversies and mixed reviews with this album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is still one of the best albums of the year. Now, I do understand some of the points that people were making about this album. However, I don't think it's fair to say that he was a bit out of touch on this album. To me, Mr. Morale is a very captivating album, and I do understand the controversies when it comes to like Kodak or whatever, but to me, it's still a captivating album. He is unpacking a lot on this album, really. This is another album where he's going through a whole therapy session. He's talking about breaking generational trauma, handling grief, also dealing with the idea of handling so much influence on meeting people. He's saying that he's not your savior. And there's also a part of the album where he's talking about unlearning from his past. Kendrick is great here, man. He's delivering great rap performances. Great. It's just great. It's just great. It's just great. And let's talk about the production on this album. Can we please talk about the production? No one is talking about this enough, but man, it is so grand and it's just so grandiose. Like, it felt very music theater. It resembled that. And that's what I think that's what I loved about it the most, is that it was just so different from what I ain't gonna say it's so different, because My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy also did something similar. Maybe of course it may not be touching what Kanye did, but the production on this album is insane and out of this world, in my opinion. It's so, like I said before, it is so grand, so grandiose, and I just love that part about the album, how it feels so music theater. Some people may say that it's a bit scattered, which I could kind of understand, but it gets better with every listen. It gets better with every listen. Now, I know I said I wasn't doing this in no particular order. However, I saved the best for last, which is Beyonce's Renaissance. Talk about a flawless album. From the sequencing, the songwriting, the beats, production, the vocal performances. No one's doing it like Beyonce, bro. And I don't see anyone doing it at all, honestly. But it's just like, man, it's not only just a dance album, but it's a historical, a reclamation album of queer spaces, of black culture, letting y'all know that black people pioneered this genre, that is. But also, like, it's a liberating album. It's a emancipatory album, and I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. It's so much. I'm not gonna get to the nitty gritty. There is gonna be more in-depth videos on some of these albums, especially this one. But like, it's one of the most important albums of the year. um it's just perfect, man. I don't My favorite tracks off this album is I'm That Girl, probably the most toughest records of the year. Of course, Cuff It, Plastic Off the Sofa, Break My Soul is awesome, Alien Superstar. I really like every song on the album, but man, it feels good, it feels free, and like I said, I think it's one of the most important albums of the year. I don't really see anything else that's more important than this, but geez, yeah. Other great albums that I liked this year were Brent Faiyaz's Wasteland, which honestly should have been in my top 10 or like in my album of the year list, but I don't know, I think it was a bit underwhelming, which is crazy for me to say because I keep returning back to the album. I keep listening to a lot of the songs of the album, but I don't know, I just have a high standard for Brent, high expectations, but I also have to come to realize that he's not going to make better music than he will with Sonder, which also I wasn't going to put them on my list either because they dropped this last year, but Too Late to Die Young released this year on all DSPs, but they released it last year in 2021 on YouTube. So I was like, cool, they released it on DSPs now, but like, and honestly, it's still one of the better projects that I heard this year. That's just me being biased, but like, it is what it is. Now, other great projects that I liked this year were Kenny Beats Louie, very colorful, very vibrant beats that he produced that was dedicated to his father. Flo Milli's project was really dope, very in your face, bombastic album. It's really dope. Flo Milli's great. Pusha T's Almost Dry is Pusha T, as we always love him to be. He's just, it's nothing different. Production from Pharrell, Kanye is dope. It's dope. It's Pusha T. We love Pusha T. Another great one was Amber Mark's album. She delivered a really dope R&B album. Another great surprise, well, not a great surprise, but Flows, this new R&B group that dropped the EP this year. I'm really excited to see what they do next. It's this R&B group that's from the UK. Really dope singers. Chase Shakur, I came back to that project a lot. He's another R&B, I guess you can call him R&B, but another great project that he dropped. I love his project. I feel like that's everyone. Sedan Archives, that's actually deemed as like the #1 album from a lot of like music journalists, editors, some people that I trust their opinion of. A lot of people like deem that as their #1 album, and it's actually really, really good. You definitely should check that out. But I think that's every album that I love in the last year. Oh, I do love Absol's album, really dope, really great to hear from Absol again. But other than that, man, I think that's every album. Oh man, I keep forgetting about one more album, Denzel Curry's By My Eyes. I finally got to listen to that. Dope, probably his best project to date. Yeah, there you go. That's every album that I liked this year, and I hope you guys really enjoy the list. If you guys have any other opinions with what your favorite albums are or opinions against my list, please put it in the comments. But if you guys enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, hit a follow button, share it to your friends, let me see the video. But that's all. I hope you guys had a good year. This has been a great year of music, but I hope you guys had a great year of 2022, well, in 2022, and I hope 2023 is just many blessings and we get more great music. I'm thinking we're gonna hear more from Kendrick this year, and of course Beyonce. I need Drake to take a break. I need Drake to like take a break. Just take a break, please. Please. Anyway, this is your favorite music journalist, PapiCleve, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace and love.